Right, hello. Welcome to the Stickman podcast. Back again with Rene.
Yeah, nice to be back in this fake Friday.
Yep, exactly. And so a brief confession. Rene and I recorded podcast for, we record one every week for the Friday, and we recorded one, as you guys sort of know, we record every Friday and we release it the following Friday. We did so last Friday, and I was editing. I mean, editing's a strong word, but I was editing it to launch tomorrow, and the first split of the first half of the video was great, and the second, suddenly we had some really bad audio issues to the point where I just decided it's probably best to just scrap the video. So
it's a shame because it was a great episode.
Oh, it was a banger. You'll never know what you missed out on there, I'm afraid. But instead, what we do is pretty similar video, but with a little bit of a twist. What we talked about is the purpose of the last video is we just had Easter in Finland. And we were talking about how Easter differs in different cultures, for example, in the UK and in Mexico and in Finland. And we just thought, well, why not? Let's just intertwine that with an episode in general about us living in Finland and sort of the difference in Finnish cultures with maybe our own cultures and just the various adaptations we've had to make adapting to the Finnish life.
It's been a rough journey, but here we are.
Here we are, exactly. So before we even jump into that, as I sort of said to you, or we should have done as we did in the last episode, for any of you, you'll notice we got the Stickman Pod stuff, like the new logos and all that jazz. So our Instagram and our YouTube, thank you for following and subscribing. If you haven't already, then please give us a follow. If you like that, give us a like, and if you'd like to comment on the video, we'd love to read it and reply to you. But if not, just enjoy the video and thanks for putting up with us. So with that all done and taken care of, Rene, I want to start with you first because you've lived in Mexico, you lived in Germany, and you lived in Finland. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's the main.
Yeah, that's pretty much. Yeah.
Did you have any? You had a Finnish girlfriend prior to moving to Finland, I believe.
Yeah.
So you probably had a brief kind of rundown of the scenario before you moved here. Different to me, where I came in blind, basically. I had a friend who was from the UK living out here, Pete, on a previous episode. You already know Pete.
To be fair, I want to ask this, because I don't think we've talked about this that much. Do you know this conspiracy theory? We'll talk conspiracy theories later, but about Finland doesn't exist?
Yep, I do.
And it's funny, because when I moved to Finland, I knew nothing about it. I barely knew it existed, right? The only contact I've had is the usual, education is great. I think in high school, one of my classmates came as an exchange student, and then she was talking it's a great place and that. But I knew nothing, right? You were nothing at all.
Yeah.
So I was in for a shock with the first time I came here.
Yeah, I remember I did know Finland existed before I came because purely based off of I quite like the Winter Olympics. And in the UK, Great Britain, we're not particularly strong in the Winter Olympics. We do have a really good curling team, apparently. I mean, at least from what I see, but we're not. We don't have any snow really, so we're not particularly good at skiing or anything like that. But I remember, I'd watch the Olympics, I'd watch the Winter Olympics, things like that. So I'd often see, and my favorite color was blue as a kid as well. So I'd see this blue and white flag.
I'm sold.
Yeah, I remember thinking, it's such a cool flag. So I always sort of knew of Finland because of that, because Finland are really good at
it is a nice flag.
Cross-country skiing. Yeah, it's a cool flag. Well done, Finland, for that. But yeah, so I was sort of telling this story just briefly to Rene earlier that when I came to visit Finland for the first time, that some of you heard this story before, but I just got back from LA where I was playing poker, and I moved back to the UK. And my good friend Pete from the podcast, he had just started dating a Finnish girl, and he invited me to come visit him for a few weeks. He said, before you settle down and get an apartment in the UK, why don't you just come visit Finland? It was in August. It was a really nice summer. He said, come visit Finland. So I flew out to visit him, and before I flew out, one of my other poker friends, but more of a poker mentor, to be honest, a guy called Al McClanahan, lovely guy, he sort of gave me the sort of heads up or the warning, sort of to say that, by the way, Luke, when you go to Finland, the Nordic and Scandinavian countries in particular, they very much value their personal space. And I remember thinking, well, who the fuck doesn't really? But I sort of thought okay, well, where is this going? And he just said, no, just to let you know that in British culture, quite commonly, let's say you meet a friend's girlfriend for the first time, and let's just call her Lisa, and you say, hey, this is Lisa, you'll give them a hug and often a kiss on the cheek kind of thing. It's very, very much that sort of culture. And he said,
same in Mexico, by the way.
Yeah, and I remember him saying to me that's not the case in Finland. Like, and bear in mind that, you know, I'm not saying that my friend Al McLennan was an expert on Finnish culture, but he basically said to me, yeah, it's very much a case of it's a very handshaking culture and not very much of a hug. My girlfriend Amelia just sort of, when me and Rene were having this discussion, sort of kicked open the door to sort of say that's not true, we, you know, sort of thing, and we had a bit of a debate and discussion about that. But Rene and I have at least come to the consensus, I believe, that we do think that our experiences in Finland have been that there have been many times where we've been introduced to Finnish people, Finnish other halves, like girlfriends, whatever, in that way. And the girl in particular has said, let's say like Sarah has gone, Sarah, and put her hand out and you shake hands. And it's kind of a weird adjustment for me in that sense, because it almost, if I did that in England, I'd almost feel a little bit rude.
Yeah,
almost.
it feels like you're painting a line, as we say, that like, okay, I'm not interested, kind of thing, of even like have any interaction with you, kind of thing.
Exactly, yeah.
And I feel the same because I grew up in the same kind of culture. But in Milia's defense, I've had this conversation with other people that have moved here, and usually, same as in Germany.
Yeah.
And of course, as a girl, your interactions vary a bit. Like, of course, people are more, they don't mind as much, right? As where we are,
True.
190. 120 kilos, 110. I look like this, which it might be a bit intimidating sometimes. So I think that makes that kind of like experience vary a bit. In Germany, I had the same kind of situation where, like, for me, it was always awkward should I go for the handshake, for the hug, for the
yeah.
So at some point, I was like, you know what? I just won't do anything. So then nowadays, when I'm not rude, I'm not like, it doesn't come from a bad place. It comes from a lot of very awkward experiences where I just don't do anything. And then whatever the other person goes for, then I'll go for.
Yeah.
It's just like keeping it safe.
I think that the, excuse me, it's one of those things where I think you're right. There's, having this seed planted in my head before I came here about, you know, Finns value their personal space. I remember when I moved here, I almost came on like a back foot of like, oh, okay, so when I meet Pete's other half, or is now his wife Terhi, I was almost like wondering, do I shake hands? Do I hug? And I honestly can't remember, but I think she sort of saved me the hassle and just put a hand out and said Terhi, and we sort of shook hands. Apologies for the terrible pronunciation of Terhi and the bad accent, and I remember. You know, Terhi wasn't what person worried about, you know, hugging, and I've hugged her many times, and we've had, you know, she's a great person in that sense. But I do remember thinking kind of, okay, well, it kind of planted a bit of doubt in my head of how I should act with people. And I do, Emilia made the point about how it's more Finnish men who are a bit more defensive over their personal space, which is kind of odd, because there are certain things, and I want to talk to you about this. I'm sort of going on a tangent, but one of the things I find odd about Finns is they're very notoriously introverted or keep to themselves. So one of the things I love about Finland is your neighbours completely keep to themselves, right?
Mate, I have in the same floor, it's like a very small corridor, and there's like 5 apartments. 2 of them, one is like a couple of people from Middle East, which I've seen a couple of times. You hear them playing FIFA.
Okay.
Because you can tell when people are playing FIFA. Like, I know 100% I'm playing FIFA shouts.
Yeah.
And then, well, nowadays I have like another, I'm guessing he's Turkish because of the last name, but that guy, I don't listen. I have never even seen him. And then there's 2 other apartments with Finnish last names. I've never even seen them.
Yeah.
I've lived in an apartment 4 years. One time they have moved from the apartment. Like, there's new people. I don't know who they are.
Oh, it's brilliant! Like,
it's lovely. I mean, I'm not complaining. Don't get me wrong.
In the UK, in particular, like nosy neighbours, you know, huge thing. Like, it's awful. Like, I remember everyone in the UK's got a nosy neighbour, and it's like, you know, a neighbour who just will say things like, "Oh, I noticed you're, you know," some nonsense, right? Like, my mum will go and walk the dog at 8 in the morning, and she'll get out of bed, she'll grab the dog, and she'll go and walk the dog. And one of her, I say neighbours, it's just another woman who walks around the same route to walk the dog, will make comments around the street, like around that group of people, and say, "Is everything okay with Sam?" My mum, like, yeah, why? Oh, I noticed that her curtains hadn't been drawn today, so I wondered if everything was okay. And it's like, it's fucking 8 a.m.
That's insane.
My mum's woken up taking the dog. She's forgotten to draw her curtains. And my mum is the person whose house is immaculate.
Your mum probably rarely forgets to move her curtains, apparently.
And it's like, this woman's, on her walk up, has looked up to see my mum's bedroom curtains, whatever it is. And that kind of stuff. So everyone's got this sort of nosy neighbour, or, oh, I noticed you didn't pick up your paper until 3:30 in the afternoon. What's going on there? That kind of stuff.
In Mexico, it's a bit the same, eh? Like, it is more common to be kind of, and this is because I've noticed, for example, with my ex, she lived in Mexico for a while, and she would comment a lot on this, because here people don't care. Like, it's very rare that you get people like that. I mean, of course there is, right? And there's people who complain, and there's people who kind of like are checking you. I remember when I lived in Peltolami, it's like a 700 meters walk to the bus, and there was a lot of like retired people, and then I would get, you're walking, and then you see someone on the window just like, and then they follow you all the way through with the eyes kind of thing. Like, and of course there is people like that, but it's way less common or less in your face.
Right,
and we're in Mexico, like your family, you're like, everyone is kind of on everyone's business. It's more a cultural accepted thing that you're just like, your family comments a lot on your personal life. And here, I think people draw that line, even if the families are close, they kind of like draw a line on, they have their own life, their privacy kind of thing. And I think that's a really nice thing.
Definitely, yeah. Like, as I said, it's probably one of my, like we've said before, living in Finland, it's a lovely place to live. But like I say, that your neighbours keeping to themselves is definitely one of the benefits.
It is nice.
And to move on from that,
I wanna ask you, because I have one in mind. I've commented in that. I've been in a couple of podcasts, and I will always answer this.
Okay.
But what was your biggest cultural shock when you came to Finland? That you were like, okay, I was not expecting this. Was it the handshake, or was it something else that you were like, okay, this is very Finnish. I was not expecting.
Difficult to pinpoint the exact one thing. Okay, I've got the first thing that popped in my head is quite a good example and quite a cool story that I was going to get onto that tangent, which was said, what I find odd, right, is Finns are, I say, notoriously introverted, or maybe introverted isn't necessarily the correct word, but at least that they keep to themselves, right? Very private people. As I said, you wouldn't get, like, as a general rule, I was warned or pre-warned or told, shake hands when you meet someone, don't give them a hug, all that, so they value the private space. But on my first week out here, I remember going naked swimming into a lake with two Finnish guys and one of their wives, right? And it was to the point where a little bit of Jalovina was drank, which is a very traditional Finnish liquor that's
very good one.
Absolutely horrendous in my opinion, but yeah, I'm gonna upset some viewers there, but at least Rene likes it. And drink a bit of that, and I remember there is a picture of me with this friend, where the husband took the photo, and the wife's got her legs wrapped around me, climbed up on me, give me a big hug, completely naked in the pitch black in a lake, and the husband takes a photo. It's a lovely photo, it's good fun, but that was probably my biggest cultural shock, in the sense of I have to shake hands with your wife when I meet her, but she'll nakedly jump on me in a lake, sort of thing.
Insane, ain't it?
Yeah.
I was going to comment on the same thing, because I remember this. I'm going to paint you a picture, right? I was unemployed when I came. I'm studying the language. I'm kind of like applying for jobs. I'm studying, like, have time kind of like on my own. And then my ex tells me, like, oh, this this couple just bought a house. They're good friends of mine from high school, I think. They're renovating the house, and they want someone to help them. They're offering, like, it's a common, I come help you renovate your house kind of thing, and then you buy a couple of pizzas, and we have like a evening out of it kind of thing. I was like, look, I have nothing else to do. I'm usually at the house, like, doing nothing, like, other than studying, and like, I can go and help them a couple of days, I don't mind. We go there, we were painting the whole day, like, I was setting some floors, and I was like trying to help them whatever you can. And then around 6 p.m. they're like, oh, should we put the sauna on and get some pizzas kind of thing? It's like, but I have nothing with me, right?
Right.
And I have to make this kind of note here, because for a lot of people this is normal. For me, I grew up in Mexico. Mexico is a very Catholic place, right? Even when I was in Germany having showers with the rugby guys, it's very weird for me because we don't have that concept of like just the open shower.
You might want to elaborate on that. Just having showers with the rugby guys.
Like after the game, you have a shower, right? Like,
he didn't play for the team. That was why it was weird.
I just went to watch, but it's like
sorry, I can't myself. Yeah.
For the concept of that not having walls and dividers in the showers, it was very odd to me, and that already was like very awkward.
Right.
Because it's like this is odd. You are not in Mexico. It's not common to be walking around naked and see other people naked. It's very uncommon. I think it's the more conservative kind of country, right? And then we did the whole thing, and it's like, oh, you want to lead the sauna up? I was like, but I don't have anything with me. Like,
a bathing suit.
Like, yeah, but fine, we have towels. I was like, okay, I guess I have this attitude of like, just try stuff, right? Like, it's like I had just come to Finland. I was like, well, whatever, man, I'll go.
When in Rome, yeah.
And then you keep in mind that Catholic upbringing, and then it's like, so should the guys go first? And no, we all go. And then you are naked there with your like wife at the time, and the other couple were just drinking all naked, and everyone's like laughing, not like it's nothing. And I remember thinking, this is like a couple weeks in, a month that I've been here. I was like, this is the weirdest thing ever.
Yeah, that I think you're spot on with that.
Now I don't care because I've been to a couple of those kind of like co-ed kind of things, and it's fine. But the first time I remember, like, I don't even remember what we're talking about. I remember just thinking, this is completely surreal. This is weird.
Yeah, I think to sort of like elaborate on that point, I totally agree. And I think the thing is, like, my family are very like open. Like my parents, they're very there was never any shyness. Be naked around the house is not a problem, sort of thing. And like when I was in school, in high school, it was one of those schools where when we would go out for PE or phys ed or whatever you want to call it, sort of thing, we'd go out and play rugby in the mud and the rain, and then you'd be in the showers, and it'd be one of those like prison showers, with where all the showers on the walls around the edge, and you just get naked and you go in. And it was like
someone getting shanked there in the corner.
Yeah, so like that kind of nakedness was never really a problem for me, and it's quite common in that regard. But what I couldn't really get my head around was kind of like that a nation of people where talking to your neighbour is mortifying to them, or standing 2 meters at a bus stop, they will stand 10 of if there's 6 people queuing at a bus stop, they'll be spread 20 meters down the road because they don't want to be like this far apart, from a stranger. But being naked around somebody else's spouse in the sauna is absolutely fine. That I found was kind of an interesting.
You're spot on, because the sauna is so important in the culture, right?
Yeah.
It's like historically being important and for many reasons. But you're spot on where I've met this like from my ex's family kind of thing. There was one of those family members never spoke. We spoke very, very rarely, exchanged a couple words from time to time. That's it, like very shy, or like not shy but reserved. We would just like exchange like very small talk kind of thing. Barely spoke English. I barely spoke Finnish at the time. Rarely spoke, but we liked each other clearly. And then at some point we ended up like maybe a year or year and a half in. We ended up going to sauna together. Going to the sauna, really nice sauna. I don't know exactly where it was, Savu sauna. Sit in there with a can of beer. Immediately when we sit, it's like his personality completely changed into a very extroverted one. I was like, so man, how are you? And how's everything? How's life? What do you like about Finland? Like, tell me about Mexico. I was like, why can't we have this kind of conversation outside of the sauna? Like, why have we spent a year and a half without talking to each other? And the second you sit in the sauna, then it's like, we're brothers?
Yeah, 100%.
And I found that very interesting. And I've talked to a lot of Finnish people and foreigners, and a lot of people seem to kind of like find this quite normal. It's like part of the culture. And now I see it as part of the culture, but it's just such a weird concept.
But it is a culture shock. Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I remember another point on that is when the Christmas that's just been, my mum and dad flew out, and they've not been out to Finland for maybe, I've been here 6 years, and they've probably not been here for about 3 or 4 years, give or take. And they came out, and we had an awesome Christmas, to be honest. Obviously, COVID's got in the way of a lot of shit before, and it was really nice. And we went to Milia's dad's in the evening of Finnish Christmas, so the 24th, because in the UK we celebrate the 25th. And basically we went to Milia's dad's, and it was snow on the ground. He lives out in the sticks. It's a really nice place, and basically really, really snowy, and he fired up the sauna. And Melia's dad's girlfriend, Sonia, she's lovely as well. And his brother there was there, and his brother's quite introverted, like as she said. He likes to play board games and play games. He's a very nice guy, but quite quiet and shy. And I remember they did things there, because there's quite a lot of us. It was like the women, the ladies would go and sauna, and then the men afterwards. But it was so my mum, Melia, I guess Melia's mum Johanna was there as well. They're friends, whatever, obviously, and then Sonia. So the four girls were in the sauna, and they'd go, and then Sonia would convince my mum that it was a very traditional Finnish thing to then go out and roll in the snow. Obviously, when it's -5, whatever, and snow on the ground.
All those kind of things, the snow and the water, it feels awful.
I love it.
But then right after, the second after, bro, you feel so good.
I do like it.
You feel like fucking Superman.
I've always been one where the rolling in the snow after the sauna, to be brutally honest, most of the time I do it, you're a little bit tipsy. So
yes.
You don't. So I'm not. Yeah, if I did it sober, maybe it's different. But my mum doesn't drink, and my mum's quite funny in the sense of when Sonia had said to my mum, "Oh, come on, you have to come roll in the snow," because Melia's mum didn't roll in the snow. Melia would not roll in the snow. She's not crazy. And when Sonia said to my mum, "Oh, Sam, will you come do the Finnish thing roll in the snow?" My mum, sober as a judge, would just be like, "Fuck it, why not?" And she goes out there, butt naked, rolls in. Amelia's dad thought all his Christmases came at once, and he hands my mum a towel as she comes in naked to get back in. And yeah, it's one of those things where it's so crazy. Whereas if you got most Finnish women like Sonia and just on a normal day, they'd be quite shy in just general life talking to a stranger, but they'll roll naked in the snow with them after a couple of glasses of wine. It's a very interesting.
I think the sauna, it's just weird, man. Yeah. Like the sauna brings people together like nothing else, which I find insane, and really I quite like it, man.
Yeah, same.
I love going, for example, in my everyday life. I rarely speak to strangers, right? I rarely get people kind of like...
Because you're relatively introverted, I would say.
I'm quite introverted in general, yeah. And after a couple of years in Finland, I stopped trying.
Right.
Of like, I don't try to make small talk. If someone comes to me, I'll continue the conversation. I like it quite a lot, but I just stopped trying. And you don't get people coming randomly to you, talk to you, like you do in Mexico, for example. Even in Germany sometimes. Like, I think here is way less common. But for example, I love going to Rauhaniemi, because then you get the lake and you can go like to the Abanto, like the ice on, like hole in the ice kind of thing. That's what it's called, yeah. Then you have a couple sausages. They're in the communal grill. There's always one. There's always one who's guarding it and guarding the fucking sinapi. What's the mustard? That's a classic everywhere. But
it's such a meme, but it's so true.
It's like, let's go to a sauna. You pack in your bag, towel, the slippers.
4 cans of beer.
Maybe the swimming suit in most places like this. So some of these places, usually in public ones. Swimming suit, package of sausage, couple beers. That's the starter pack, ain't it?
Starter pack, yeah.
And then, bro, it's so cute. You go to sauna, go to the lake, either the warm lake in the summer or ice cold lake. You feel like absolute Superman. Have a few drinks, grill a sausage. You're just chill there, mate. Like have the whole evening there, and then then you feel like someone hit you with a mace. Basically, you're just like completely destroyed for the evening. Go to bed.
Oh yeah,
and you pass out, right? That's
the thing. Once you take the sauna and like once you saunaed and swam a little bit, you sleep like a baby, don't you?
Yeah. But then when you're there in the sauna, everyone loves each other.
Yep.
Everyone like is super chatty. You sit next to someone. They look at you like, oh. Like, and they make small talk. Like I've had this. Like, where are you from, mate? Like, what are you doing here? Like, oh, do you like sauna? It's usually that, right? They're very proud. Do you like sauna? Do you like the Abanto? How did you feel? Like, I was like, man, I love it. Mm-hmm. Like, it's. I think that's one of the. If you ever come to Finland, number one of the list
100%.
Should be go to a public sauna, take some sausages and beer with you,
mingle with,
make a day out of it. Like,
I love that. I wanted to touch back on the grill guard. Like, there's such a thing. Like, I remember saying it. Someone made a joke 8 years back about, oh yeah, when you go there and there's always a guy wearing these tiny speedos, right? He's always like not always super old, but it will be between like late 30s, early 50s. So that kind of range, which is quite a broad range.
But you know he's been around, right? He knows his sauna.
Like the man knows how to sauna, that kind of thing, right? Sauna is his thing, right? And he'll be in these tiny little Speedos and these flip-flops. And he's managing the grill. And there's like 40 people grilling their sausages, taking turns. And there's just tons of fucking sausages all over this grill, right? And it'll be like my friend, Alex, like he'll be on the podcast probably in a week or two. And he comes over and he wants to, roll his sausages over and stuff. And it's like whether or not you close the lid, whether you don't close the lid, all this stuff. And basically, long story short, I remember he went there. Alex did something, I don't know what he did, and all the smoke starts bellowing out of this thing. And this guy comes over like Vito, like pulls it up and just starts complaining that basically the oil or whatever it was had dripped into the fire and it was really, really flaming, like we're burning the sausages basically. And yeah, this guy, you would have thought literally you just slapped his firstborn child. Like this random grilled sausages were maybe a little bit overcooked.
To be fair, you don't mess with someone's sausage.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and like you say, and he's always got this metal mustard tube, like a toothpaste tube, like an old school toothpaste tube, but mustard. And he's always offering it to everyone. Like and the best thing is, because I'm from England, right? It's just British mustard. It's English mustard. It's like Finns usually eat a sort of sweeter mustard. Like the Cotti mustard, it's quite nice. I've got a bottle, it's really nice. But
they have the yellow mustard.
I've not seen that one.
That is one to try.
But this is like a hot mustard, but a traditional English mustard, right? But a little bit hot. And the guy's like, "You want this mustard?" And you put it on, and it's like it's just normal English mustard. But it's like the real men eat the hot mustard. It's just a funny thing, yeah. So just another little.
It is an experience, man. I love it. I think that's some of the Finnish best things. Like
yeah, I definitely agree. What else have you got? Any more? So I think we both kind of tend to agree on what that main culture shock. And
because that's the shocking. Because I cannot think of. I was in a podcast. They were asking me about this. It was like a Mexican podcast, and they were talking about like living in Finland, and they were like, but there was more of your culture shocks, and there's a lot of people here who have big culture shocks and struggle with adapting, but I haven't had any.
I think
for me it was so easy to adapt because basically I'm introverted as well a bit, and I think I'm reserved, I would say, not introverted.
Yeah.
And I just fit in quite easily.
I did notice that when I moved to Finland, I wouldn't say I'm a massive extrovert, but you know what I'm like when we're out. I will always be first to the karaoke, and I'm very out there, I'm very outgoing kind of in that sense. But I think the funny thing is, I noticed only living here for like 6 years. I do notice when I go back to England. When I go back to England. See, I lost the language already. When I go back to England, really small things piss me off, and I think it's part of being in Finland. Like hearing someone talk too loud on the bus, hearing somebody on their phone in like a lift or an elevator going down, just all these things, like they grind me more. And I think because Finns are so considerate of each other, and I think for example. Yeah, I feel like I'm more reserved when I go back to England because I'm just developing into this Finnish culture or sort of thing. And it's like, you end up, I think I just get really pissed off by those sort of little things. And another small, like we both agree that I think the comfort around nakedness flipped with the discomfort around just people. It's kind of a very weird
what's that?
Like
juxtaposition kind of thing they call it.
Exactly, like And but on the same sort of note, it's funny that the lack of small talk. So I always remember, like, the UK is the worst for small talk. We talk about the weather with strangers, anything. So how you, you say, "Hey, how are you?" It's a rhetorical question. It's
exactly
like,
what I was going
to
say.
How are you? But when you ask a Finnish person, like, "Hey, how's it going?" they will tell you their life story of how it is.
You know what's the worst part of this? Because of course I care about you, man. Like, usually if I come to you, because we were quite close, it's like, "Hey, man, how are you?" If you start like, "Oh man, it's been a rough day. My life is going bad in this way. I feel like a bit depressed or a bit whatever, a bit down, or like super happy." It's like, "Oh, tell me more, mate. Like, let's talk about it." But then, because I'm so used to, I've been living here six years, and it still happens to me, right? Where it's like, you bump into a colleague or a random person you've met in a bar a few times. "Hey, man, how are you?" It doesn't mean, "Please tell me how are you." It means, "What's up?" And then you say, "Bro, I get 7 shots in the chest.
Yeah.
How are you?" "I'm good, mate." You know what I mean? It's just like automatic. "How are you?" "Good." "What about you?" "Good." Okay. And then you continue. And here's like,
spot on. Your leg could be hanging off. how's it going? Yeah, I'm good, man. How are you? End of story. Like that. Yeah.
You go to a bar. Hey, mate, what's up? Like, how are you? Oh, it's rough, mate. You know, my life. It's like, I was like, why did they ask, bro?
Right,
why did they ask?
I mean, the worst is when, a person, like you said, when it's a person you don't know very well.
If it's a friend, go ahead. Please tell me your problem.
I won't name the person, but it was a person in a bar from, do you remember when Bertel was a bar? Yeah. And I remember I'd go there. Nice guy I'd meet, lovely dude, whatever, but like, how's it going, man? It's like, the kind of guy where you'd meet him all the time, you wouldn't really remember the name, maybe, sort of thing. It's like, how's it going, man? It's like, not good. I just split with my wife, and we have to. The kids will go with her, and I don't know if I'm keeping my job, and I have to pay this. And I'm sat there like thinking it's a Thursday. It's like Friday night, and I'm having a few beers, and I'm just sort of like, fuck, what have I done? And he's like, yeah.
And then you're like, I guess you're not joining the beer pong.
And he's smashed, and then he orders 2 Yalavinas, hands me one, and he's like, I just don't know what I'm gonna do. It's just and I'm sort of exaggerating, but it will be something like this.
It is a very rough.
And all I've done is come to the bar to quickly buy a pitcher of beer for the beer pong, and we were just a few friends having a good time out. And it's like, hey man, how's it going? And he's like, oh, it's not good. And you just think like, fuck.
That is cultural. Like you have to be very careful what you ask.
Yeah.
And on that line, I don't know how it's in England. I've talked about this with an Italian friend of mine, and they have the same issue, but we're like Latino kind of culture, so I guess it's the same. When you bump into someone, hey dude, how are you? Like, should we do? We should see more often, mate. Like, we haven't met in ages. Like, should we do this weekend? Like, let's try to do something. Yeah, let's try. Let's keep in touch. We both know that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
We both know.
100%.
We're both full of bullshit. Yeah. And here you do that, and then on Friday you'll get a text message. Hey mate, what are we doing? You're like, what? Yeah, we said we should. You're like, oh shit.
You're spot on.
And
I remember saying this.
I don't want to be rude because it sounds like you're being a bit of an asshole, right? But
just a thing.
But it comes automatic, mate. It's something you do. And I lived 26 years in Mexico. Like I just have that on me. It's like a common thing.
Yeah.
And here, toning it down. I've been here 6 years. It's still not quite there.
Yeah, even with
it's still from time to time it slips.
I'm sure your mum's the same. Like I remember being a kid, right? I remember being like 8, 9, 10 years old. I remember my mum walking me somewhere like school or something. And on the way back, you'd bump in, and on the way walking home, like this woman would walk past, and I'd hear my mum go, "Oh fucking hell!" Like she moaning about something, and she'd be like, "Oh hey Jean, how are you?" Like, whoever the woman is, right? Just say hello, sort of thing. Like and she'd basically she talked to her, and that by the time it would end, it would be like, yeah, of course, we'll definitely have to catch up again. We must do coffee, yeah, of course, yeah, we'll do it one time when we drop the boys off. Yeah, of course we'll do coffee, and that would be that, right? And she walked down, and she'd be like, I can't fucking stand that woman, and it would be that kind of thing, right? It's just
in Mexico, that's massive, bro, because like people are just trying to be so nice all the time.
Out here, it's like a contractual agreement. It's like, you say when you're drunk in a bar on a Friday night with some friends, like, oh yeah, mate, we must go for lunch, we must go for coffee, and then next day it's like, so what is your Tuesday like? I'm thinking we go for lunch. I'm like, what the fuck? I met you 3 times in my life, that kind of thing. And it's definitely. I remember, and to be fair, I remember Melia was like a wake up call for me with that, where we'd be out in a bar and I'd bump into a guy that I've not seen in 3 years. How's it going, bro? Oh man, we got to catch up. We must catch up, dude. We must catch up. Oh, next Wednesday I'm off. We should do something. And I'd just be like, yeah, man, yeah, of course, yeah. We'll go grab lunch or something. We'll go grab a coffee. Yeah, cool. And we walk past, and we walk away, and me and Melia would walk home, and Melia would just say, why did you say you want to go for lunch with him? Why would you? And I was just like, I'm not going to go. It's just what you say, isn't it? And she's like, no,
not here.
It's a big error. You have to learn the ways for sure out here. Yeah.
You start understanding it at some point. It's hard to shake that off, but I still have that issue from time to time, and I mean, it is what it is. You deal with it. But on a more positive note, here's a thing a lot of people complain about, and I don't get.
Okay.
What do you think about Finnish food? Because hear me out, right? Like,
right.
Well, I don't want you to answer because of how you laughed.
No,
I don't want to put you on the spot.
No, I will answer, but the thing that first popped into my head when you said food, right, is the debate I have, which I'll get into next, with Finnish candies.
Okay, yeah.
I
have another debate.
I'm gonna throw it out there. I'm very sorry to all of our Finnish viewers, which is very many. Finnish candies are the worst thing in the world.
I agree with you, but in Finnish candy defense, when people try Mexican candy, they
You're
say the same.
You're pretty down there as well.
They say the same, so I understand them. Now, salmiakki grows on you.
You don't get teeth like we have.
You.
You don't get teeth like we have in Britain, mate, without having top class candies.
That's why these are like.
You know what I mean?
Fine.
Everyone complains about our teeth. It's because our candies are so good. But
I make a lot of jokes about British people teeth around the British people, and they never appreciate it.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where it's like
I need another Mexican too.
You must have bumped into the Brits with really bad teeth, because I mean, look at these pearly whites. I'm living the dream.
To be fair, the Brits, like the British people we've met, we hang out with, they have decent teeth.
It's because we're traveled.
They're posh.
We're well traveled.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
no, but like talking a bit more seriously, Finnish food. I've met so many foreigners that complain about it. And, you know, I have the cooking channel. I enjoy food. I go out quite a lot. I like to try new restaurants. I do
at Mexican in the Kitchen, by the way, YouTube.
Mexican in the Kitchen. Subscribe, like, comment. I like it, man. I agree that it's very limited. There's not a lot of, like, variety, because you have to also understand the context of at what point, like, they started... You know, there was nothing here. There was like it's fucking frozen 9 months a year, right?
For what it's worth, just to interrupt very briefly, like
Karjalan piraka.
I don't know what that one is.
The rice cakes here, like that are like pinch kind of thing.
With almost like the baked potato wrapping, almost. It's like
no, it's like they have rice in between. It's like rye and rice. They're very soft. They have them everywhere.
So not the ones that are like cheese and almost like a baked potato skin with rice inside. Yeah, it is the main.
I wouldn't describe them like that, but it's probably that.
It is that. Yeah. They're like the most famous traditional like pastry sort of. Yeah.
That's
they're good.
That's the Finland's best export. I can tell you, like that's they're spot on with that.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Then, salmon soup.
I don't like salmon.
Beautiful.
I don't like salmon. I don't like soup.
I don't like salmon either, like that much. I'll have it if there's nothing else, but like I don't love it. But that they know what they're doing. Poron Karistos. We just had it in a fancy restaurant the other day. It's just like
how the other half live.
It's just like what's like poron? It's like deer, kind of like a deer stew.
Right.
And then they just pour it on top of a mountain of mashed potatoes, and they serve it with pickles.
Yeah.
Bro, it's insanely good. And then they put like this like jam or this like berries. It's a bit sweet, savory kind of like. Then you have the gamey meat. Bro, they know what they're doing. There's not a lot of things to eat, to be fair, but like
as a British man who's not particularly, what's the word? I've not got a particularly diverse palate when it comes to food as it is. Right, I'm not like, I'm not the most cultured person with food as it is. I'm not here. I'm in no place to judge Finnish food. But I will say, to put it in perspective, most Finns will just laugh in their grave, sort of thing, whatever the word is. I think plevna is good Finnish food, you know. So I like I don't know what it's called. What's the thing where it's like
it's kind of German, ain't it? It is good though.
Yeah,
very similar. Well, it's very similar with the potatoes.
You know the potato, the diced cubes with like meat and an egg on top.
Puttipano.
Yeah,
that is excellent, bro.
Love it.
That is excellent.
Love that.
In plevna especially, it's good.
Very good. I love that. I love. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't call it Finnish food. You know, when you go to Midsummer and you grill potatoes, meat.
But that's the basic, right?
The
potatoes, we talked about this in the last episode. The potatoes with butter and dill.
Yeah,
the new potatoes, the tiny, you're completely ripped by the price.
Yeah,
but they're good.
They are not cheap, but they are very good. But yeah, as for all the Finns eat a lot of game, don't they?
The salmon, I know you don't like it, but I have a video about it. The plank salmon. It looks beautiful, man. Just having it in the board there with the fire kind of thing, and it gets kind of smoked.
Let's put that video in the description of this video because it is very relevant. And
yes.
Yeah. So
and I like clicks.
Yeah, that's definitely so. I'm not like Melia eats the. You know, I don't know if it's Finnish dish to be fair, but you know, like the kind of they're like a whole fish, but they're only about that big.
Oh, muikus.
Yeah, man.
Love them.
So it's not
with mashed potatoes.
Yeah, with mashed.
And some kind of like dill cream kind of thing.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's good.
Very
summery in it.
Yeah. They love it. They sell them down at Kauppahali and stuff in the summer.
Yeah, Tamelantori is the place for that.
But yeah, like I don't think Finnish food is bad by any means because what I do, I'm very selective with my food, right? So I do like a lot of it. I think that their candies suck. I think that their candies really.
I can get behind that because it's not my cup of tea.
But
nowadays
everything's salty.
6 years in, I cannot complain about the saltiness because we have chili and salt on candies as well, so I get that. For me,
I get it.
A lot of Finnish candies are okay, but they're missing that chili. The spicy, the kick.
If they had the chili, I would like it because we have, or in England we have a lot of sour candies that are a bit like
you don't get proper sour candy here.
Nah, it's like
the one that makes you hurt here kind of thing, and you cannot like. Ugh.
Yeah, my mum loves that stuff,
Love that shit.
I take it or leave it. But yeah, I remember I went to the cinema a while back, and I remember the problem with Finland as well. One last hate on their candies is
the lack of hot sauce for the popcorn.
Oh, no, well, that's a Mexican thing, man. We don't have hot sauce.
It is. It's fucking
hot
good.
sauce in our popcorn in England, mate, I tell you that.
Mostly the lack of spice everywhere, but I'm Mexican, so I might be biased. You know
Eastern Europe.
You know the butter thing. Sometimes you see in the movie theaters. Not here though. But that
in
thing
US,
we have with hot sauce, bro.
Of course you fucking do.
It's fucking excellent. Where at the end, like the bottom of your popcorn is just like a paste of hot sauce.
Viva la Mexico.
Fuck, bro.
Yeah, but the one thing I would say is that with the Finnish candies that are a bit of a scam is the ones that look. It's a bit like, what's that like creature? Like there's like an insect where they look harmless but they're really deadly. It's almost like, it's one of those things where they got the most deadliest venom because it. You know what I mean? There's a certain kind of like rainforest frog, I think it is.
Oh, the bright ones, like red.
The really bright ones are the most venomous because it's like they're not very well blended with their environment, so they need to like paralyze their predators or whatever, that kind of thing. Bit of a tangent, but the point is it's the same with the Finnish candies. The ones that look like they would be a really nice juicy red like jelly candy, you'll bite into it and it will just taste like salt and salmiakki, and you're like, what is this?
Salmiakki has grown on me because I do like the saltiness. I don't love it. It's a weird flavor. It's one of those like, it's kind of like when you have this is like how I feel it, and this might be unpopular, but when you have let's say you bite your cheek,
an ulcer.
You have an ulcer in your mouth, and if you don't touch it, it will heal quick. And it hurts when you touch it, but you cannot cannot help but touch it all the time, and then it hurts. They're like, just don't touch it and it won't hurt.
It's a reasonable analogy.
It's the same, bro. Like with salmiakki, you take it and you're like, I don't love it.
Yeah.
But it makes you kind of like, I'll take another one.
I think you're right.
Like it's a weird thing that nowadays I eat salmiakki. I don't buy a bag of salmiakki candy, but if there is,
I will take one or two. For example, Turkish peppers, right? They're pretty.
Those I don't like.
Okay.
And I like spiciness.
I like the flavor.
But those I don't like. No, I don't like the flavor.
So I they've grown on me. I remember when first bag of Turkish peppers Melia bought, or whatever. It's like the round. They have like 4 flavors, 5 flavors, give or take: orange, blue, red, and brown.
I just have tried the normal one, and that I don't like.
Oh, that one's horrible. That one sucks. But the blue Turkish peppers, they are it.
Okay.
And the red ones are good. The orange are 3rd place, and the brown ones are just very far behind in 4th. And if you disagree with me in the comments, I will fight you. So the no, but basically
so the Turkish pepper is where he draws the line.
Yeah, that's the hill I'll die on. Is the brown Turkish pepper is clearly 4th place, and there's no debate over it. But the point is, those Turkish peppers they're really good, but I can't remember what the point was about the Turkish peppers. Oh, but that sort of vibe for me with a salmiakki flavor. Is when you like, to me salmiakki is like when you or those Turkish pepper type things, when you eat a sweet and you feel it like in the nose,
I know what you mean. It's like the same sensation you get with wasabi. There's a weird burn like up here. I don't know where it is.
Or even like a smelling salts. Like that's how it sort of is. Yeah. But yeah, I think this has been
bro. There's so much to say, and we've done this. Yeah. Let's have a second.
Part 2.
Yeah, let's see what people say. If they like it, they comment or something.
Yeah.
We can, even if they don't, we probably do a second or third part.
We've been talking about, we both lived in Finland for 6 years now, and there's a lot of things we've got to talk about it, basically. So if we would love to get anyone who is following already, just give us your thoughts in the comments about our opinions on Finland and where we're wrong.
Or questions. If you have questions about because,
Yep, that's true. If you want to send any questions in, by all means, you can ask on the YouTube page, or if you want to be anonymous or whatever, you can just email us at stickmenpod@gmail.com, and we'll
Or at Instagram
or the Instagram, exactly same, or exactly, you know how it works. So if you have any questions about life in Finland, or if you're a Finn and you disagree with anything we've said about, your terrible candies, or your very openness to nakedness,
it's perfectly fine to have to disagree.
Yeah.
Except for the brown Turkish pepper, what's that?
Except for that is where the line is. You are wrong. You are fundamentally wrong. So yeah, thank you for watching, and please let us know. We'll do a part 2 because we've got more than candies and stuff to talk about. Rene, thank you again for coming, and we'll see everyone next time. Thank you very much.